Alright, we've been having issues with the submersible water pump that we have down by the creek. This is the circuit breaker for that pump, and this is the switch over here on the wall. Oftentimes when we turn on the pump there with that switch, the differential for the house drops and we lose electricity for the whole house. I'm trying to figure out why that happened. It looks like today we might not be having that problem. So let's flip the switch here. The differential hasn't dropped. Water's flowing through the pipe. It's taking longer than it normally does. It sounds like there's some backflow, so the check valve is probably broken. And I want to do a quick test here with this bucket just to see how clear this water is. So we haven't even run the well in probably 2 months, just because we haven't been able to. The thing's been not working. So it's a little bit brown. I'm gonna go ahead and flush that out, because maybe that was just the bucket. So I dumped that. Now let's try again. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, so it's got a pretty decent amount of brown. It's definitely not something we should be putting in the potable rainwater tank for the house. We'll be having to change our filters about every week, it looks like, with that color water. And the bucket's almost full. So there it is in the sun. You can see that's definitely not clean water. Okay, so this is the first day I've run this pump in about a couple months, because last time we tried to do it, the differential for the house kept lowering and cutting off electricity to the entire house, and I want to find out what's causing that. Looks like the differential just tripped right now. I've been running this for about 5 minutes. Either that or we've already hit the capacity of the well down there. And if that's the case, that's a very low capacity. Looks like maybe not even enough for 200 liters of water. Yeah, so this is just a trickle coming out now. Let's see if maybe the differential dropped. No, the differential's still up, so I guess we hit the capacity. So that's about the capacity of the well. So we can only get like 200 liters of water at one time before the thing dries up. That's really not providing the house with what it needs. You know, and if there's a drought, I assume that's gonna be even less water. But yeah, it just, you know, we're not satisfied as customers. Most of the time we can't even use this thing because the differential just drops as soon as we flip the switch for the pump. The water that does come out, as you saw, it's brown. So, and the guys tell you they got, you know, a 6-month guarantee where they're gonna come out, they're gonna clean it. They can't come out, they won't come out. They're full of different excuses, and they don't come out here. They don't care what happens with the customer. And it's pretty typical around here. So I'm on my own now. Okay, so now I'm gonna go check out the submersible pump, try and figure out why it's causing the differential to flip sometimes. This is where they did their installation, which they call a Caisson. There is no Caisson here. What they did is they just dug a big pit and we filled it in with gravel. And then it filled itself in with mud. So I just put these sacks on top of it, these empty bags, to be able to at least keep the PVC out of the sun and try and keep some of the mud from accumulating right where the installation is. And that's how it is. You really don't even see any evidence of the gravel anymore. So this is where it is, and they supposedly dug these little canals right here going to the creek. so that creek water would flow into here. But I mean, this is obviously not even gonna work. You can tell just by looking at it. They didn't even place a tube there or anything. Some of the designs I've seen from Peru, they'll indicate that inside of the caisson, you should put a couple tubes going into the creek, one a little higher for the rainy season to catch water during the rainy season, and then during the dry season, the creek level lowers, so you need to put a second tube down lower in the creek to get, you know, a good source of water even during the dry season. And then you fill those tubes coming straight from the creek with gravel or porous materials so that they filter whatever sediment. You don't just dig a big open mud pit like this, fill it with gravel, and expect that that's going to be a long-term solution for clean water. In our case, it only lasted like 1 or 2 days. The day that the guy was out here doing the installation, he told us, okay, it looked kind of clean that day to me. He said, but still, it looks clean right now, but you need to give it a few days because, you know, the water needs to flow through there. We just put the new gravel in. There's going to be a lot of sediment. So, you know, just run your pump for about a week and flush out the water, and it's going to look better. So what happened? We had a big rainstorm a couple days after he left. So, you know, the mud came, the sediment came, and then from that point forward, we had muddy water, and and what they told us is they give us a 6-month guarantee. So they're going to come out at least once over the course of 6 months to do a cleaning, is what they told us. That's what their guarantee includes. We had them come out once because they did a bad plumbing connection here, and water was squirting out of one of their plumbing connections, and that was all they did. So we've been trying for 5 months to get the guys to come out here who did this horrible installation and actually do what they say. You know, we gave them the opportunity about 8 times for them to come out here over the course of just the past 2 months, and every time it's one excuse and another excuse and another excuse, and he's just been blowing us off like that for 2 months. He won't come out here. They won't do their cleaning because they know that if they do their cleaning, it's not going to work. Their idea is they're going to get a pump, a water pump water right out of the creek using gasoline with a gasoline power pump, pump the water out of the creek. Keep in mind, we wanted to avoid using creek water. That's why we have all the gravel. He made us buy 4 cubic meters of gravel and dump them in this big hole right here. So we did that. But now, we're not going to filter the creek water. We're just going to put creek water directly from the creek straight into the hole to flush out the mud. That doesn't make much sense, does it? So, he hasn't come out. He knows what he did wrong. He won't come out. We called him and we talked to him. He says, oh, it's too far, but you know, it wasn't too far for him to come out here when he was earning the money, but once he has the money, of course, he won't come out. So we've got this, and it's just a, you know, it doesn't give clean water to the house, which is what we were promised. This was supposed to be the equivalent to a tubular well, and that's what we were also told. But, you know, this is not a good solution for clean water for our house. This is a, you know, it's gotten worse and worse over time. These guys don't want to come. They want to just wash their hands of the responsibility. They don't want to even try and deliver on any of their promises. The first promise being clean water for the house year-round from a well. Failure. Second promise was 6 months of guarantee, including a cleaning. They didn't want to do that either. They're not coming out. So they lied on 2 occasions, and we're stuck with this mess, and we already paid the guys. So that's what you can expect from Merde and his H&M Servicios de Reingenieria. It's a very long business name, not a very good business name. So H&M Servicios de Reingenieria. Yeah, we'd like to have them come and do some re-engineering here, that's for sure. So here's the bucket I used just yesterday when I was turning on the pump and we saw the brown water. I'm gonna go into the creek and just get some water right out of the creek and do a comparison of the quality. Keep in mind it did just rain, so it's probably not gonna be the cleanest as it normally would be here in the creek, but it'll give us an idea. Keep filming, honey, because I'm there. No camera tricks here, you know? No hay trucos de la cámara. Let's see, we got out a little bit more water yesterday from the pump. You want to take that? Help me carry that. So the guy's name who came out here and did this installation, his name is Diaz. And Diaz made us waste 5,000 soles doing a whole bunch of BS when we could have just gotten water straight out of the creek. We'd be a lot better off just pulling water straight from the creek. Without having to pay this guy anything. So you saw yesterday the results from his installation. Now you see the results from God's work here, straight out of the creek. Okay, so other than the fact that there's no Caisson here, which is what he told us this is a Caisson well. I'm going to give you a Caisson well. There's no Caisson here, but other than that, the other problem I see is looking at this document that was published by University of Piura here in Peru. So there is information even from Peru on this topic to guide people on how to do these installations properly. Now I hire a professional, I expect that they know these things, that they already have studied it. And they're not just coming out here to experiment and to lie to me and tell me that they're giving me something that they're not. So the other thing in that document that's indicated, you obviously have to have a Caisson, but then you want to keep that Caisson a minimum of 1 meter. The access point needs to be 1 meter above the level of the shoreline of the waterway. And so what do we have here? This is lower. This is actually lower than the level of the shoreline. So it's pretty much guaranteed. And in this part of the world, it's very common to have a creek overflow. So, I mean, there's no excuse. When you're doing this design in this part of the world, we get sometimes 5 to 10 floods every year, okay? So somebody needs to keep that in mind when they're doing an installation, especially when they're from this part of the world to begin with. They did not, obviously. So every time we have a big storm, the creek's going to overflow, and this is always going to fill up with sediment. So what, we're supposed to, a couple times a year, come down or have somebody pay for some service to clean this out, just for a temporary solution, last us another 6 months and another 6 months, and we have to have that ongoing cost forever? No. They could have done things properly. 1 meter. Caisson should have been 1 meter above this level right here. It's not. Okay, so since 5 months ago, right now it's March 1st. Yesterday when I filmed the outlet water from this installation, that was February 28th. Just took water out of the creek now, March 1st. Creek water being cleaner than the water from this installation. This is the first time I've actually taken this apart and opened it up since the guys left 5 months ago. And they did come once to replace this connection right here, which actually I do see some water dripping. I don't know if you can pick that up in the camera, but right here this connection is crooked, so it doesn't look like they did a very good job on that to me. And the other thing I have to figure out is there must be some sort of problem with the electrical, because most of the times when we've tried to turn this submersible pump on, there's some sort of short circuit or something along those lines that's cutting electricity off to the entire house. So I want to try and figure out why. I have no idea how to open this, so do you have an idea? When I mean, like, should we? Look at this. What am I supposed to do here?
I think you have to lift the...
You can see the water dripping. There's water dripping out of this. Okay, so this connection is dripping. You can see that it is crooked there in the way that they installed it. It's a lot more open on this side. See if I can get the drip. See if the drip shows up here in the camera. Where's the drip, honey? It's forming down below. See, it just dripped. I don't know if that showed up on the camera. Okay, so this was the one thing that they came out here to fix. They didn't care about fixing the bigger picture, which was their bad design. They came out here to fix this connection, which was squirting water out. Well, now it's not squirting water out, so they kind of fixed the problem, but you can see that it's dripping. And I actually don't even want to touch this because I thought they actually made the installation here so that it was easy with this rope to pull out our submersible pump from, you know, 1.5 or 2 meters down, wherever it is, however low they set it in there. And I wanted to pull that out right now and upload a video examining the thing so that maybe somebody who knows more than me on the internet will be able to point out, oh, okay, there's a bad connection, they shouldn't have done it like that, or whatever the case may be, just to find out why this thing is causing the differential to cut off electricity the entire house pretty much every time we've been running the pump. But I think it's better just to leave it as is, document that we've been here today, March 1st, and then I guess go straight to the authorities in this case and just document the bad job that they did here. There's really not much else I can do. This is definitely above my pay grade.